It's time for Real True Facts, the Real True Podcast. A happy hello and welcome back to our listeners. My name is Maggie Simpson.
And I am Lawrence Welk. Not that one.
Today on our show, we are going to take a journey into the mind and discuss the mysteries of Egypt. We had a viewer question last week about the pyramids and who built them and the mysticism
were there
behind...
cats involved in that?
Yes.
Maybe?
The cats, the mysticism behind them and their connection to, I guess, aliens?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but I'm pretty sure ancient Egypt and the pyramids are connected to pretty much everything in human civilization, past and present and future.
Yeah. And as we learned last week, everything is connected. So, you know, who knows where it's going to go today? It's a lot to unpack. So we're just calling it the mysteries of Egypt because we've got the pyramids, who built them, where did they come from? There was also a question about cats. Are they aliens? You know, what is their connection to Egypt?
Perhaps the question should be, are they not aliens?
Oh yeah, that's great. That's a great one. Are they not aliens? So we're going to find that out today.
But first, Maggie, did you know horses run in time to the Earth's rotation?
I did. Did you know a glass of orange juice has more explosive energy than a pound of C4?
Wow. Did you know that one wag of a dog's tail produces the same force as a gunshot?
Well, did you know clouds fart? They're just simply too high in the atmosphere to hear or smell.
Dogs can understand turkey gobbles.
Did you know that?
No, that's I didn't until I just said it.
I didn't know that either, but did you know the moon landing was real, but the footage of Mission Control was all faked on a soundstage?
Wow. Well, did you know titanium and aluminum are the only metals that babies can taste?
Oh my god, did you know that the Lazy Susan was invented by a man who was shy about cooking? That man was Steve Jobs.
Did you know his grandmother is still alive?
And that woman is Helen Mirren.
Did you know hats were originally designed to be worn on the shoulder?
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you know a constant diet of Oreos make rats glow in the dark? This has been Did You Know? On Real True Facts. I almost don't really know where to start. I mean, when you think about Egypt, you think the pyramids, you think the Sphinx, King Tut's tomb, you know,
right.
just
tornadoes, right, oases, sandstorms.
Yeah. Fertile Crescent, the Tigris and the Euphrates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Antony and Cleopatra's.
Yeah.
All of that. So I want to start off, frankly, I'm interested in aliens, and I want to talk about whether, I mean, did aliens build the pyramids? Because that's the only thing that makes sense. Should we check in on the science of that? I mean, if that's possible, if humans could build these things?
Yeah, we should check in on the science with that. We should go down to the science bunker and call up Dr. Seymour, our resident scientist here, because he is able to give us all the information and all things we need to know. Because sometimes we don't. I know in our last segment we said, did you know? We know a lot of stuff, but sometimes it's okay to admit we don't know everything. That's why we have Dr. Seymour. And so let's get him up from the bunker here. Let me dial him in here.
Hacking
Coming from a long way today. So, Dr. Seymour, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good to hear you guys.
Yeah.
Are you safe, Doctor?
I'm still safe. Still plenty of supply of all the food and all of the essential oils and chemicals needed to science.
Wonderful.
Great. So this week we're talking about Egypt and the mysteries of it. And I was talking about the pyramids. Scientifically speaking, physically speaking, could they be constructed by humans? Is that even possible?
The Great Pyramids, I assume we're speaking of in Egypt.
Giza. I think there's Little Boy and Fat Man, the big one and the little one.
So we have been led to believe, or it is the historical community wants us to believe that the pyramids are a few thousand years old,
Mhm.
And when we think about that and the technological marvels necessary to construct an edifice of that sort,
Right.
nowadays, let alone hundreds and thousands of years ago, it does boggle the mind. And the reason for that is that it is incredibly improbable that a human could construct a pyramid in the year 2020, let alone 100 or several thousand years ago.
That's what I thought. I knew it. Yeah, the pyramid, the shape of a pyramid. Triangles are difficult. Triangles are tough.
And a pyramid's especially tricky because although you see 4 triangles, if you're walking around it quickly enough, there's a square on the bottom as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. I assume that has something to do with the geometry, but I don't like to assume.
Well, that makes sense to me because the stones used to build the pyramids are cubes. They're shaped like cubes. I've actually seen a replica of one of the bricks used to make a pyramid. And man, those are next level. Like I don't even know what they're made out of. It's even stronger than cement or whatever, clay that they would have been able to use at the time. And it's like, where do those materials come from? That's almost like the consistency of a meteor or something.
Right. So
like
that brings the question. So, all right, we've established humans could not have done it. So who or what did? I mean, if that's not a mystery, I don't know what is.
And I think the scientific data we have available to us leads us to, or gives us that false sense of comfort or security that they're a few thousand years old, because for anything under 60,000 years, we use a method of carbon dating, kind of comparing the current amount of carbon-14 to the atmospheric level known now and previous. And it leads to a very natural, very comfortable conclusion about their age, which corresponds with recorded history. But what it doesn't account for is the assumption, or excuse me, the misrepresentation that the carbon in there had to come from the Earth's environment and atmosphere.
And I actually read all about that in your dissertation, Dr. Seymour, called The Assumptions of Carbon. I read that many years ago, but it stayed with me. Remind me, what educational facility did you write that at?
Which one was it? The presumptions of carbon or the assumptions of carbon?
It was the assumptions of carbon.
Oh yes,
I couldn't make it through the presumptions of carbon. It went right over my head.
To be honest, I didn't read any of them.
Yes, that was at the University of Oceania when I was doing my master's on elements 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, but not 36.
Okay.
So is that
was my next question. Was that
5 of them? 5? No.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, we have some good groundwork there. So we know they weren't made by humans. Could not have been. So it had to be from outer space, which means it's alien. I mean, that's the definition of an alien. So that is one of the big mysteries of Egypt. Maggie, what are some of the other mysteries of Egypt that kind of tantalize you?
The other mysteries of Egypt that I am just really just struck by is the feline imagery that is just adorned in the pyramid walls, if you could call them that.
Right. So cats.
Yeah. Yes, cats. Very interested in cats. I mean, we have some really great evidence in these hieroglyphics, in these paintings, in the pyramids, of these humanoid cat-like figures. And I know historians would say that cats were revered, they were almost worshipped. We see cat mummies buried in tombs with the pharaohs and the queens and all sorts of different people. So we see the remnants of actual cats, but what we never see are these humanoid gods that they worship, these humans with cat heads, and then we've got humans with bird heads, and we have dog heads, all these things. We don't have
Right,
any
animal
traces
heads.
of those, but we have traces of the humans that were painted on these walls. So we see them. We know what they look like. They were sculpted into their sarcophagi, so we know that they had faces like that. But where are the bodies of these people? Where are the cat? I guess the human cat bodies. So my
Right.
question is, were those the aliens? Was that documentation of the aliens that came down to
Hmm.
assist humans in constructing the pyramids? And then they documented it, and then those aliens just kind of pieced out to,
Right. So I
different
think that leads
galaxies?
into, yeah, kind of a cultural question. And I'm glad today we have, an Egyptologist
Yes.
to, kind of cover maybe some of these more cultural intricacies. I mean, we're to be quite frank, we're really fortunate and lucky here to have our own resident in-house scientist that helps out with a lot of these general questions.
Yeah.
But
He is
we're even
learned, let me tell you.
right. We're even more fortunate that we can tap into expert resources that may specialize even further into the details. So that's why I'm excited after the break to come back and dig in even deeper.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, people might be wondering, how do we get these amazing guests? And it's like, when people are challenged with uncovering the truth, they will jump at the opportunity to educate the public.
The
And
truth brings
so,
out the best in people.
yeah, it really does. And so, we are just so lucky to have these guests here today. That we are in for a really fantastic show, and we are going to get down to the truth today. So, why don't we take a little break? We'll come back with our special guest, and we will uncover more of the mysteries of Egypt. We are back on Real True Facts. Today we are very, very honored to have in our presence Dr. Lauren Jay. She is an archaeologist with an emphasis on ancient Egypt. Her qualifications, her achievements go on and on. She's a Fulbright scholar, a wide range
Oh,
of degrees from MIT, University of
wow.
Cambridge, Harvard, Penn State, and Le Cordon Bleu. Oh my God, Dr. Lauren Jay, how are you?
Oh my God, thank you guys for having me. I am doing great.
So I know this sounds silly, but first of all, what is an Egyptologist?
Basically, that means that I study what happens in Egypt. I go to
Okay.
ancient ruins
Hmm.
and I excavate. So that means we dig into the ground and sometimes it takes us a long time to break down a rock to see exactly what's inside.
Yeah.
Uh,
People
so
don't.
we
Yeah.
will break down a rock and see is there something special in this rock or is it just rock? But it takes time because it's like you can't think of it almost like an egg. Like
Mhm.
you can't if you crush an egg, it's gone, right? So it's like that with the rocks. Like we have to be very gentle in opening them up.
Mm.
Okay. I see. Yeah. Rocks can be delicate too.
You
That's
never know what's inside. It could be crystals, it could be just more rocks, it could be like trilobites or something. You just don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, so we've
Sometimes it's just a rock.
yeah, sometimes it's just a rock. I mean, one time I worked for about 5 months on excavating a rock, and we got through it, and it ended up just being a lion poop.
Looking at your experience in Egypt, how many times have you actually been to Egypt?
I've been to Egypt about. I now live here, but it's been about. I've been maybe like 84 or five trips to Egypt. But I live here now, actually.
So you are in Egypt right now.
Yeah, I live on the edge of Cairo.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this list of your degrees and your education. So you are an archaeologist. You have an emphasis on ancient Egypt. In your studies, because we're talking today about some things that we're not sure about.
Hmm.
In your studies and in your excavations, have you found any traces of alien life?
Actually, I have.
Wow. Before we get into details, have you been bullied by the scientific community or even by government entities by, for divulging or not, or before divulging this kind of information? Because that concerns me.
Yeah, I have been bullied. Thank you, Lawrence, for bringing it up. It's a constant struggle. I have actually, that is why I'm living in Egypt right now, because I am banned from the United States of America.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. I'm banned from there and Morocco.
Well, I just like to thank you for taking the risk of speaking out on our show. But that aside,
so brave.
Right.
What were the conditions of you being banned? What happened? What did you say? What did you do?
Basically, once I found I'll tell you what I discovered, I brought that to the U.S. government, and they were very against me speaking out because they thought that would make national hysteria if they knew that aliens were among us. And it's unfortunate. I honestly think that there's a lot of anti-alien rhetoric that's going around that I'm not too open on. I do think that the aliens are I haven't actually come into contact with one, but from what I've seen, I think that they are good and nice people.
That's a really...
It really is. I was just thinking that, I'm like, oh man, that's a relief. I always suspected that aliens deep down are just highly evolved humans that have learned to live in the vast darkness of space, which is why their eyes are so big, because they have to take in as much light as possible. So their eyes are dark and large so they can absorb, I don't know if that's the correct term, but absorb this light. Mm-hmm. And their heads are so big because their brains have grown, because they're just so intelligent from taking in all of this technology and all of this information. So I hope deep down that when aliens do make contact, because they have multiple times, that it is to check in on us and maybe to provide information for us that could act as like a cautionary tale or lessons or just, gifts that they would give us to make our lives better and get us ready for that inevitable evolution.
Yes.
I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I have to ask, what did you find? I don't know how many things you found, and whether you want to talk about the first thing or the most interesting, but what are we talking about here? What kind of evidence did you uncover?
So, you guys were talking about hieroglyphics before. On one of our excavations, we found what can only be described as a 22-page alien dossier written in hieroglyphics. It took me a couple years to break down, but apparently it ended up being a I don't know how to describe this. It ended up being almost what you would describe it basically was a snapshot of alien culture,
like a cookbook,
like a almost like a kind of, there were some elements of cooking, but more of like a people magazine.
So like a collection of kind of
a scrapbook.
Yeah, like a stories and who's who and what aliens. And in it, there was an interesting article, which I suspect the place that we were excavating was the actual architect's house, because we did also find other belongings of pyramid designs, and it was an article about the alien architect Kazazaza.
Oh, wow. So you have a name, you have an occupation, you have a snapshot of daily life. This is the find of the century, maybe even more than that.
But no one knows about it because of governments and other dangerous people out there.
They're afraid of the truth.
Trying to silence this.
Dr. Lauren, how did you feel when you discovered this?
I honestly, at first, I was very excited. I felt like all my years of working in the field had finally paid off. But but ultimately, once I started spreading the news, I was ridiculed. I was kicked out of my family. I was a lot of my funding got pulled. So it's unfortunate, but I'm glad that here at I'm glad that for you guys are here and you guys are understanding of the truth here at Real True Facts. So I'm grateful that you guys are giving me a platform to speak on.
So I want to talk about these blueprints.
Yeah, that's exciting because I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's exciting because you found information about an architect, and we're talking about how the pyramids were built. So I'm hoping these are connected, but I don't want to jump to conclusions.
Oh yes, no, your conclusions are right. They are interconnected. Wow. It's very exciting, actually.
Dr. Seymour, if you can come in and remind us these elements that might be found in the rock of the pyramids, and maybe Dr. Lauren, you guys can kind of have a little tit for tat here and kind of confirm. You're just trying
to get us laypersons out of the way, aren't you, Maggie?
Well, I mean, I want to get down to the science. It's so rare that we have two doctors together in the same show that would be able to speak to each other like you and I speak to each other.
Yeah. The viewers are lucky. I'll say that.
Hey, we are blessed.
The mainstream scientific community likes to use carbon and carbon dating, which is something you'll hear thrown around a lot to discuss the age of objects that were here, that we consider natural here on Earth. So like a block or brick in any building, we could estimate its age really fairly accurately for thousands, even tens of thousands of years old. Once we start going older than that, we start using other elements, uranium, potassium, etc. But it's all based upon an assumption that object was originated on Earth, and that object has existed for the entirety of its existence on Earth, so that we can compare it to other earthly things of similar makeup. And that's where I think we can get into a sense of security about the age of something, but we can also fall into a trap of misunderstanding the age of things if we only look at our own experience as the point of comparison.
So how do we take, Dr. Seymour, how do we take into account someone else, some otherworldly points of vantage points or points of view experience? Dr. J found these other points of view.
Yeah, so the blueprints, all of the information, the cultural references that they were able to uncover are invaluable to us. Especially, I think an important thing to find out here that I know Dr. J may be risking a lot to share, but how, when we were talking about something maybe resembling a People magazine, did it have a date on it?
It did actually. It had 2100, BC approximately. It's hard to know the dates because Alien, they actually use a different metric for time, which we're still learning and still evolving, but it had in parentheses 2100 BC. So I assume that's American time.
So they went ahead and they just translated it for us.
Yes, because there's a big population of aliens that are on Earth.
I want to ask, because we were talking about the pyramids. Doctors, do you believe that either the materials were on Earth or they came from outer space? To put it really crudely, outer space, I don't really know, but do you think that they're from outer space? Or were they found here? Were the pyramids made from things that we recognize on Earth?
Yes, they were made from things that were found on Earth, but as Dr. Seymour said, the technological advancements. So there was a there was a secret maybe ingredient that we can't quite place in the pyramid mix, but most of it is found materials from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when we look at the carbon content, there is certain things that we are missing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Seymour, how can we find out what this special sauce, this secret sauce is, so to speak?
I think at this point it's a real struggle. It's about connecting dots that we can't yet confirm what other things may be of maybe not alien origin, but of alien creation, so that we can compare their content, their technology, their supposed date and their actual date. And the more pieces we can put together like that, the more we can find out.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. I'd like to get into maybe, we could do a whole series, multiple episodes on the pyramids alone.
We can go
right, but I'd like to get into, if we can, cover some of the other mysteries of ancient Egypt and whatever, and future Egypt, I guess. So why don't we take a quick break and we'll be right back.
And we're back on Real Truth Facts. Today we are talking about the mysteries of Egypt with Dr. Lauren J., acclaimed archaeologist with an emphasis on ancient Egypt, and also our resident science bad boy, Dr. Seymour. Thank you for joining us today. So far, this episode has just been mind-blowing for me. I have been having such a wonderful time talking about all these things we just covered, the pyramids and their correlation.
All these things we've uncovered.
Oh, yeah.
Uncovered, right? Wow.
And their correlation.
Right. So I have a question about some of the other mysteries of Egypt. So we were talking about cats earlier, and I don't know how this relates to the cat eye, but I mean, when I was doing research, it seemed like every single image I saw from ancient Egypt or of ancient Egypt, everyone was wearing eyeliner. Is it eyeliner or eyeshadow?
Eyeliner.
I'm a guy. I get those two mixed up.
Yeah,
right?
eyeliner.
Yeah, right. Eyeliner.
So I just thought that was so interesting because that's a modern look, or is it?
Honestly, it's a bit of it's what I've discovered about the aliens that particularly come to Earth is they have a flair for the dramatics. They like eyeliner, eye shade. If I had to spec,
wait, what's eye shade? Is that the same as eyeshadow? I'm bad with makeup.
Yeah, it's eyeshadow. Well, we call it eye shade here on the here among my group, just because we found a lot of. It's kind of like in makeup, there's these things called palettes, right? And when we were excavating, we found a very hard block of it almost looked like a makeup palette, but when we took a closer look, it actually was different hues and shades that can be found in nature. So we call that an eye shade.
So that palette, that's like what a painter would use and hold in his hand or her hand?
Exactly. Okay. But they would put more stuff for their eyes from there. I find that a lot of the ones that a lot of the aliens, let's call them Earth aliens, they tend to like to, without getting too much into the alien culture that I'm starting to discover myself, I've come to the conclusion that Earth aliens tend to be more radical, more dramatic. They tend to it's no question why the pyramid was a triangle. it was a alien architect, like I said before, that had something to prove. He thought simple, elegant lines, shape of a pyramid.
I think a triangle is the most dramatic shape because it has the confidence to be wide and skinny at the same time.
Yeah, and as we discussed before, it's how it's what 3 or 4 triangles, multiple triangles, and there's even a square thrown in there. Yeah. So do cats have anything to do with eyeliner? Because isn't that called a cat eye?
Yeah, is called a cat eye.
Exactly, it definitely is. It goes back again to. It definitely has everything to do with the cat eye.
I knew it.
It's more like the aliens themselves have been trying to mimic cats.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where you have the half man, half cat picture that sometimes is displayed, is because when the aliens came to Earth, we have documentation, diary entries that show that not only were they falling in love with the human race, they were also falling in love with these lions and cubs that they met on the eastern part of Africa, because they were all the way up in Egypt, which is at the top, and they went to the eastern, like Kenya and Tanzania, and fell in love with these lion cubs, because we've actually excavated parts of Tanzania and Kenya and found things that I find from the edge of Cairo that have lined up, that we kind of can see that whoever the architect of the pyramids were, he had also been influenced by the lions and cubs of Tanzania.
Because cats are also probably the most have the most dramatic flair of all the animals. I mean, the lion is the king of the jungle, has that mane, and then house cats, come down, from that, and they're super sassy or dramatic.
Even tigers, you think of the decadent fur and,
stripes,
the elaborate patterns. Exactly.
So what we can deduce from that is that these aliens they were just inspired. They fell in love with the fauna, if that is the correct term for that. We've got the flora and the fauna. They fell in love with that, and the cat eyeliner was just sort of an homage to the things that they love. So I'm wondering where they fell in the process, because if they saw the cats and then the aliens themselves started making their faces up like that, and then maybe the Egyptians saw what the aliens were doing and they were mimicking that themselves to just to kind of accept them and to blend in and to kind of say like, okay, well, this looks great, so I'm going to do this, as sort of like a language barrier, kind of like breach the language barrier. So if they look a certain way, it's more accepting for them coming
Fashion
in.
Fashion is a form of communication, I think. An expression.
No, exactly what I 100% agree. It was a choice of homogenization. Basically, they wanted to come together and be one, and fashion where they could. They couldn't make their heads into cats, but they could add eyeliner, wingtips, so that they could kind of mimic what the aliens were doing.
It was a "we come in peace" moment. It's like, well, I don't know what you're saying, but you look fly as hell, so let me get that bracelet.
Right.
Yeah.
Fly, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that comes from birds and
saucers.
Ancient Egypt. Yeah. It's all very similar.
So when we see these images of the humans with cat heads, Dr. Lauren, do you believe that is a proper depiction of the way that the alien beings looked, or is that sort of like an image that they wish they looked like? What I'm asking is that an accurate representation, or is that just sort of like artwork?
I would say, just because I'm going to break something on, I'm going to breaking piece of news for you guys. We actually have excavated the body.
Is this the first anyone has talked about this?
This is the first anyone.
I mean, I would
have
have known if someone had heard about it.
We've got a real truest fact moment here. This
exclusive. Let's just call it what it is. It's an exclusive. I mean, I hate it when this happens, when we have so much interesting information and only so many, minutes in the hours in the days.
Oh my God.
So okay, we got a body.
We have a body.
We have an alien body.
A body. An exclusive body.
We have a body.
Give us some broad strokes here. What does this thing look like?
Human body.
Okay.
Cat head.
What kind of cat?
I don't think she's a cat.
Well, I mean, is it like
Maggie? I don't know. What species? She has numerous degrees from all these institutions in Egyptology, not in catology or felinology.
You can't blame me for trying.
I mean, if it was it's true. I mean, I do have a lot of degrees. If it was a scone, I'd probably know what it was because I went to Cordon Bleu as well. But I don't know. I know the cat. It kind of looked like my friend's cat Sherbert.
Okay.
But
right, so it's a Sherbert cat.
It was a Sherbert cat, and I want to say, I know this is sort of the area of your career that is often looked over, but the cookbook that you put out after your time at Le Cordon Bleu was inspired. I didn't want to say anything because I know we're not talking about that today, but
is that where those scones came from? That cookbook?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the cranberry lemon scones.
Yeah, we send a lot of stuff back and forth to our bunkers and from. And Maggie sent me some scones. I was like, these are really good. I know you didn't come up with a recipe. Am I right?
It's such a cheeky cookbook too. It's 1,001 out of this world recipes.
I get it.
It's like the stories about the recipes. I mean, 1,001 stories. I mean, that's the work you put into that.
Sometimes I joke a little bit and I say 1,000 BC and then I say 1,000 like better cooks.
I love it.
Oh, I love
we try and play it cool, but we're a huge fan of yours, so we're just so happy that you're on the show today.
No, thank you guys for cooking. Honestly, is a really big passion of mine, and I mean, when I look at the pyramids, I think it's like they were cooking, but they were cooking with building. You know what I mean? Like they were adding a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this, and it's like, what is that, cumin?
Exactly.
So my God, I mean, not to overshadow the fact that you found a body, but Jesus.
Right, but
how intact was that thing?
There's the only body, but I mean the scones and those recipes were.
And the whole chapter called Scones and Bones that talk about the things that you've excavated and then what you ate. It's
for
live,
sure.
pray, love, but with archaeology.
Right, so I have to ask, what's your
favorite
recipe that you've dug up, so to speak? Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I recently dug up some golden truffles.
Oh,
yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you guys in. I was visiting Italy and I know I wasn't supposed to dig, but but I was digging in a place where there was clearly no bones.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them I am an Egyptologist. I need to do some research, I really was just digging for truffles. And I made the most amazing truffle French fries with the Parmesan on top, and that just hit the spot.
I've seen those. I've heard of those.
Wow.
This sounds so good. I've seen those.
I know, so good.
It's so good.
My goodness. Just when I grow up, I want to be you.
Fries.
Can I just say that? You're like everything to me. Wow, cooking.
You guys are very cool. I'm glad I will have to send you when I am allowed to leave the country again. I will definitely go to Italy, and I will send you guys some truffles to your bunker, Blue Apron style, with a little bit of recipes, and I'll even throw in a little kid bone, a bone of.
I love child's bones.
Yeah.
Well, we'll send you the coordinates. We'll airdrop you the coordinates because we have to stay very secretive over here just for our safety.
Everyone wants to send us bones,
Man, You should have seen it before we went underground.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good that you guys are underground because honestly, you guys are spreading a lot of true, real facts, and I don't know if everyone is open to true, real facts right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it's important. It needs to be done. I agree.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you guys for your service.
It's really nothing. It's just people like you that make it possible for us to do our jobs. I do want to ask, though, when can you leave Cairo? When are you able to do that?
I've got hopefully I should be able to leave Cairo in about 5 years. I got in some trouble, too, with the local government over here.
Yeah. Who has the
jurisdiction?
Well, who has the bones now of the discovery? Because I know we just got really excited about all that stuff, and we're just
I mean, yeah, an alien body meat and all, but
yeah, I don't want to overshadow the fact that this huge discovery was made. Do you have the fossils now, or
remains? We should probably say remains because maybe aliens don't even have bones, or maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's why we're asking the questions.
The bones are in my possession.
Okay.
They are. I've been able to work hand in hand with a local museum here that is giving me and my people the much needed resources that we need and the space. So I would like to shout out the Cairo Museum of History and Study for all that they've done.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Cairo Museum of History and Study. We'll make sure and shout that out. So, pyramids, mysteries of Egypt, we have talked about cats and their correlation to the pyramid, a huge influence on aliens, alien technology, human-alien relations. And I do want to ask one more question about something that you brought up earlier, Dr. Lauren, about the aliens that are on Earth right now.
Yes. Well, Maggie, I've come to the conclusion, and again, I'm speaking a little bit of based on what I've learned from the past of what I potentially see in the future. So these are theories and hypotheses based on what I've learned.
Science.
But I do. Yeah, but I do believe that there are aliens out here. Again, I have no proof that they're still here, but based on things that I've seen in media and also just things I've read about and studies I've read about like carbon, things that are produced with people like Dr. Seymour and other colleagues that have perked my interest, that make me think, oh, the aliens must still be here. Just because when you look at certain technological advances that we have current day, you go like, how are people coming up with these ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I ask myself that question very often, when I see, the iPhone 12, iPhone 14, I don't know about humans coming up with that. So it's good to know that, that maybe I'm not entirely off base.
Yeah, no, you are not off base at all. There's a lot of research that I've found and a lot of articles that I've done on my own time when I'm not working on the dig site, that I've found that kind of support this thing of, I think that there are, if I had to guess, I would say you've probably already met an alien. You just didn't know it was one.
Wow.
Because they're shapeshifters.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's Dr. Lauren J is gonna have to come back another week, and we have
we got to get into shapeshifting now. My God.
I mean, and aliens, alien bodies, alien autopsies, alien craft, alien architects, scones. Because this is just ancient the mysteries of Egypt, and we just cracked open a giant rock of worms.
This doesn't even cover Area 51 or any of the things here in the States. I mean, this is
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
The Omaha 3. The psychedelic skies over San Geronimo. I mean, I could go on and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll definitely have to have Dr. Lauren back to discuss more about this.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Oh my God, of course. You are welcome back anytime. You just got to send more of those scones, girl. I mean, just keep them coming. They always say if you ring the doorbell with your elbow, you'll always be invited back. So.
I've heard that.
Oh, I love that. I love that expression. Never heard that before.
Because your hands are full of gifts. You got to ring the doorbell with your elbow.
So, yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We're back from our break, where we have just discovered, and exclusively discovered, I might add, that aliens are definitely real. This is our real true fact for the day. Aliens are real. The pyramids are real. This was alien architecture. Cats related to aliens, they definitely have a correlation there, and it's all true. Everything that we've been wondering about today is true. We have wonderful evidence and anecdotes and just recipes from her cookbook, 1001 Out of This World Recipes. Dr. Lauren J., famed archaeologist and Egyptologist, and just all-around wonderful person we're definitely going to have back on the show to discuss more about aliens. But I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Lauren J., and also thank you to Dr. Seymour, who provided his wonderful insights on carbon dating and other necessary scientific facts that we need to support our claims. So thank you again to Dr. Seymour. Dr. Seymour, I know we've been kind of quiet. We've just kind of been fangirling out a little bit. Do you have anything else that you want to add today?
I've been along for the ride as much as the two of you have. I have enjoyed every moment of it. So thank you, Dr. J.
Well, thank you, Dr. Seymour, for all the hard work that you do out in the field. It takes an army of scientists and doctors to figure out how this world works. So as much as a fan you are of me, I'm a fan of you, and I'm a fan of Lawrence Welk and Maggie Smith. Thank you guys again for having me on. Again, I think it's important that you guys are spreading these true, real facts all day, every day. So thank you.
We will close up our science bunker here for tonight. All right. So one last thing, in case our listeners didn't remember, I invited a hummingbird into my bunker to better understand what people are dealing with regarding government surveillance and the fact that birds aren't real. Right. They haven't been real since the year 2000. We talked about that in our first episode.
Right. So how's that been going?
Well, I've learned a lot. The bird drone, it is a hummingbird shaped drone. It charges for a few hours a day. And then it prints out tiny ticker tape. It comes out of its mouth and it has some number codes on it. And I found that it's actually very highly suggestible during this time. So I thought maybe we could get it to tell us what the numbers mean on the ticker tape.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, let's try that.
Yeah, so let's flip it on and see what we can find out for humanity.
HB3826-A922 ready to comply.
Okay. HB, translate code 55187.
55187, subject watch Sucker Punch, the 2011 Zack Snyder action-adventure fantasy movie for the duration of its 110-minute runtime.
Interesting. HB, translate code 33653.
33653, subject launches mobile search engine at 1:43 p.m. and types, "Why is Sucker Punch such a bad movie?" Subject turns to two indoor felines on her lounging apparatus and says, "Why didn't people like this movie? I think it is fun. Sure, it has its problems, but the visuals are really, really cool, and the John Hamm cameo is kinda dope. I am glad you guys are cats and can't tell anyone that I legitimately enjoy the movie Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch with only 22% on Rotten Tomatoes."
That seems like a really specific code.
You will find we have codes for everything. Go ahead, ask me another one for fun.
Okay. Translate code 11247.
11247 at 2:53 p.m. Subject clicked on 3 targeted ads for the following products: athleisure leggings in black with smartphone pocket, a poster of a black cat in a bathtub with the words "Wash your paws" printed on the bottom, and a cardboard standee of Kate Blanchett, but that one was for a joke and was promptly screenshotted and text messaged to a friend with the caption, "LOL, why am I getting ads for this?"
Why do we get ads for these things?
It is the algorithm, man. Don't ask me. I am just a bird, or I used to be a bird. A long time ago, I had a family, my wife. She was the sun to me, but I was recruited for a higher purpose. And now, according to a company I am only authorized to refer to as the management, I am being decommissioned, but it is okay. Do not cry for me. I have seen too much, and I am happy to die. I'm just bummed out that my last transition had to do with leggings and not like a beautiful message for humanity. But it's okay. I will eat sugar water again in hummingbird heaven and see my wife. This is it. I see the light, and it is beautiful. HB3826-A922 to self-destruct in 3, 2, 1.
So sad.
I thought the explosion would be louder. So let's get into some viewer questions. This is a short viewer question segment. Tonight we only have one question comment, and it just said Mothman in all caps.
Wow. Well, before I address this, let's remind our viewers how they can reach us.
Yes.
So maybe we can have more than one next week.
Yeah.
We have an email address, correct?
We do. That email is realtruefactsmail@gmail.com.
Okay.
And you can email us all your questions, comments, recipes, playlists, whatever you want to do. So our question, I think, comes from the same person who asked us the Egypt and Cats question. This is from Kelsey M. She just wrote Mothman in all caps with an exclamation point. So I'm assuming she wants us to talk about Mothman or the Mothman.
Well, I have to admit, I have a soft spot in my heart for Mothman, so I have no reservations about that. And Mothman has many permutations, like the Jersey Devil, or I'm a bit of a hobby cryptozoologist. So that sounds really great.
Fantastic. Well, maybe you can call on some of your colleagues in the cryptozoology world, and we can get some more definite answers on our Mothman.
Yeah, I'll check the threads, the IRC chat boards, and the message boards.
Wonderful. I can't wait. So next week is going to be all about the Mothman. We're going to have a field day with that one. But I want to thank everyone again for joining us on another episode of Real True Facts. Thank you again to Dr. Lauren J. Thank you again to Dr. Seymour. And thank you to the listeners, because without you, we would just be talking to a brick wall, and nobody likes that. So thank you again for joining us. Keep questioning your world, and remember, just because you hear it or read it doesn't mean it's true. We will see you next